This book is called the Nestle Aland Greek New Testament, and this book reconstructs the New Testament from the Greek manuscripts to testify to what the New Testament is today. In Exodus, it does say that God wrote the 10 Commandments with his fingertips. Did you know that? I don't believe that there's any first century evidence for the crucifixion of Jesus the Christ. So the idea that we have documentary evidence about what Jesus said on the cross is fake news. But then the question falls on me. How can I engage with God and not have trust in his scripture? Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Today I'm here with a Christian from Greece. His name is Alex. Now in this video his voice is going to be modified and his face is going to be blurred. In one channel he's going to be excluded from the shot, and that's because he prefers this for privacy reasons. Now Alex and I did have a conversation earlier, but we were rudely interrupted, and so we've chosen now to actually speak to each other apart from everyone else. So Alex, thank you for meeting me. Right, so Alex, I was showing you this book earlier. You recognize it's the same book, right? I didn't swap it out, right? So this book is called the Nestle Aland Greek New Testament, and you will see here it's on the 28th edition. Now I am a Muslim, you obviously know that, and my friend Alex here is a Christian. Now Alex, you believe that the Bible is the unaltered word of God?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, and again, rudely interrupted by this speech. I'm joking, by the way.
No problem, sorry.
Yes, no problem. Just take a second, inshallah.
Sorry about that.
Right. Now, as a Muslim, I do not believe that Jesus the Christ was crucified, but you accept that?
Yes,
right.
I do accept
Right.
that.
Now, my reasons, I'm going to give you my reasons as to why I don't accept it, and you will disagree, but I want you to tell me if my position is irrational, it's dishonest, or if it's false, okay? Right. So, there's no manuscript evidence from the New Testament that testifies to the crucifixion from the 1st century CE in which Jesus lived, the 2nd century, 3rd century, and the 4th century we do have it. Now to be clear, we do have some ancient papyri from the 2nd and 3rd century, but they are what we call lacunos, or they have holes within them. So we don't actually have the crucifixion narrative preserved in those versions. Now this book is called the Nestle Aland Greek New Testament, and this book reconstructs the New Testament from the Greek manuscripts to testify to what the New Testament is today. Now Alex, we read this book earlier, right? And I showed you, for example, in Matthew 27:46, where the version that's used today is from the 5th century CE, correct? Right. So as a Muslim, I reject that because it's 500 years later. I don't believe that there's any 1st century evidence for the crucifixion of Jesus the Christ. Now let me be clear on this, why I'm saying this. So we have no biblical evidence for it, that's the first thing. From within the first 3 to 400 years, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is, I lost my train of thought. What was the second thing? Right. Now the second thing is, what was I going to say? Yes, pretty much because it's not mentioned in the New Testament, basically. Alright, the second thing is the historians as well. So you have Josephus and you have Tacitus. You're familiar with these historians, right? Well, what century do their manuscripts come from? Do you know?
I think, I don't remember the exact year.
Yeah.
I do believe it's after Christ.
Yeah. Right. So the earliest editions of those manuscripts from those historians come from the 9th, 11th and 13th century. So they're not like early, they're way after. Okay, now you can double check this anytime that you want. I'm not making it up. Okay, what you need to look for online is the extant, E-X-T-A-N-T, manuscripts of Josephus and Tacitus. Extant means still surviving, so we're looking for the manuscripts that still survive, because what we assume that they read as, we only read it from the 9th century onwards. Does that seem strange to you? It should seem, because you think, oh, 1st, 2nd century, but nothing. So here's the other problem, the third evidence for it. The church fathers. So you know that there are hundreds of church fathers basically at this point. Not everyone recognizes all of them, but the church fathers, when do you think their manuscripts come from?
The church fathers?
Yeah, the church fathers.
I mean they have the original manuscript.
They don't.
They don't?
They don't. So if you go on the Trismegistus website, right? It's a website, it's a digital library of ancient documents that you can search for, Christian documents. And if you look up the church fathers name by name, you're getting them from the 6th century onwards. Does that sound insane to you? Now let me make something clear to you. These mic people, I'm telling you, I don't know what century they come from. No offense. Yeah.
Sorry.
He just likes you, so he wants an excuse to hug you. That's why.
It was just fine.
Of course it's fine. It's on me. Wink, wink.
It's got to be fine.
Right.
Sorry, just...
No problem. Right. Now, so the church fathers, it's okay. So the church fathers, the manuscripts are later, right? So now, just imagine I'm not a Muslim for a moment, and I want to learn more about Christianity, and I find out this information. So I remain unconvinced about what the Bible says. I remain unconvinced about Christ being crucified. What should convince me that he was crucified?
I mean, what should convince you is if you read like the New Testament, especially the story about I mean, if you see the story of the Jesus at the end part of his life, after his last supper,
Yeah.
you know, it explains there that by detail that he,
Okay.
he went to the Sanhedrin,
Yeah.
which was the Jewish court.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he was accused of being a criminal.
Yes.
I mean, they say like he's king of Jews, how dare he? And then the New Testament explains by detail that the whole like execution process, that he went with the Roman soldiers and he had to carry the cross.
Yes. Okay.
And then he was crucified there, and it explains the conversation between
Yes.
the two guys.
Yes. The Roman soldiers. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
But Alex, just on that one point, let's focus on that point, okay? I reject that narrative because there's no evidence for it, right? That's the problem. So, okay, I want to be convinced that the evidence exists for that. Right? I want to be convinced because I believe in something called disce or discede. It's Latin, it means learn or leave. So I want to be convinced that if Christ did die for my sins, that there should be evidence for this, right? Otherwise, I can become an atheist. I can become a Jew, a Hindu, any religion. So I read this book and I showed it to you earlier, right? What did we look at? We looked at Matthew chapter 27, verse 46. And what did I show you? Do you remember what I showed you? I showed you, if we just jumped it really quickly,
what Jesus was saying.
Yeah, on the cross. So the idea that we have documentary evidence about what Jesus said on the cross is fake news. Right? Do you know that word, fake news? Right? Now, I don't say that to be mocking and I don't say that to be dishonest. Right?
You're expressing your point.
My genuine disagreement, right? So I bought this book because I wanted to know what was the earliest documentary sources. Don't worry about it. Let's ignore them. Look at me. I'm handsome. Look at me. I'm joking, right? So trying to say I'm not handsome, I'll be bothered by that. Now, Matthew 27:46. I'm going to go over it again just for the camera one more time, right? In Matthew chapter 27, verse 46, in the Gospel of Matthew, when you look at verse 46, it takes the quote of Jesus not from the earliest manuscripts, which are Codex Sinaiticus and Vaticanus, but it actually takes it from Codex Alexandrinus and Bezae. Can you confirm that? It says here, what does it read? Just read the letters for them.
Yeah. ADK, Alexander's.
Right. And Bezae.
Desert.
Right, forget the others. It goes all the way down, right? Goes all the way down. But you can see here the text for verse 46. Can you confirm that?
I mean, I want to confirm, but
you don't understand.
Honest, it doesn't show the full title. It
okay, so can I show you it then? Would you be convinced if I show you? All right. So.
Convince me.
Okay. No, I'm not looking to convince you. I'm just looking to have a genuine discussion, right? So let me just jump to it. Just give me 1 sec. It's a big book. Yeah. Right, so here we go. If you look here, you will see, if you look here, it tells you, right, so I'm going to turn the page, and it's telling you what the abbreviations are, okay? So so it says presentation of the variant readings and the witnesses, right? So I'm gonna
introduction.
right. So I'm gonna turn the page, and it says it identifies the majuscule text and the centuries that they come from. Now, if you see here, this is Codex Sinaiticus, they call it 01, and it shows you that there were correctors in the 4th to 6th centuries, and once I'm up to the 7th century and 12th century.
Yep.
So I'm not making this up. You can confirm that. I'm not making this information up here. Right? So it says D05. What century does it put it as? 6th, 7th, circa 9th, 12th, and it goes all the way up to different centuries, right? Now I'm going to try to find the sigla for you here. So far I'm not making it up, yeah? Right, so would you agree with that information so far? Would that answer your question?
I think, yep.
Because I could find it, but I don't know where it is right now.
But obviously that needs to be more
Fleshed out?
evidence.
Yes.
I mean, I know that your religion believes that Jesus, he raised alive to heaven.
Yes.
But I mean, do you at least know that to be clear, you believe in Jesus, right?
Yeah, I believe in him, but I don't believe in the...
I know.
Yeah.
You believe as a prophet,
Yes.
You believe as a normal human being.
Yes.
Like everyone else.
Yes, yes, yes.
But then why, I have read the Quran, but I don't remember the chapter. Why it says in the chapter of Mary?
Yes, Surah Maryam.
It says some on the verses in the beginning, I think, that Mary said, Allah said to Mary, to Gabriel,
Yes.
she's going to have a son, and that the Holy Spirit will be entered to him.
Okay.
I mean, that's, in that sense, you don't think that explains that he's the Son of God?
Okay. So
Because it says also in the Quran that maybe it shows Trinity when it shows the Holy Spirit, Isa, and the words of Allah. If you know what I mean.
All right. So on your first point, do you know the reference you're referring to about the Holy Spirit and Mary? Do you know the reference? No? Because I'm looking for it. I'm not seeing it, right?
In the Mary chapter.
Right, Surah Maryam. Okay, let's go to Surah Maryam. Right, so this is Surah Maryam, chapter 19 of the Quran. Right? Let me go down to it here. Tell me when to stop, right? If you see it, let me know. So that's Zechariah. We're not interested there. This is Zechariah again. Right, this is again Zechariah. Zechariah again. We'll get there. John, no. So it speaks here about. Right, here it is. Okay. And mention, O Muhammad, in the book the story of Mary when she withdrew from her family to a place toward the east. And she took in seclusion from them a screen. Then we sent to her our angel, and he represented himself to her as a well-proportioned man. She said, indeed, I seek refuge in the most merciful from you. So leave me if you should be fearing Allah. He said, I am only the messenger of your Lord to give you the good news of a pure boy. In this case, we take it as sinless, right? And continuing, it says, she said, how can I have a boy while no man has touched me and I have not been unchaste? He said, thus it will be, your Lord says, it is easy for me, and we will make him a sign to the people and a mercy from us, and it is a matter already decreed. So she conceived him, and she withdrew with him to a remote place. Did you see the reverse that you were referring to?
I did read that about the Holy Spirit, I remember there was a word there.
But just to be clear, the Quran doesn't use the word Holy Spirit, it does use the word angel. Okay?
You use the word.
We don't say Holy Spirit, we say angel, yeah? Right, okay? So maybe you misread a translation or something at one point. But you can go home and double check. And I've made a promise to Alex, right? I've told you, if you have any disagreement with anything I've said today, and you go home and you find out I've lied, that you can contact me. We've agreed on that, and I would publicly go on camera and apologize to you personally, okay? So, and I will call myself a liar for that. Now, so far, have I been dishonest with you? I've been dishonest with you?
No.
Okay, and I've been truthful so far, yeah? We agree.
I think, yeah.
Right, so I put it away now, and I'm going to focus again back on this, okay? So far we've agreed, no early New Testament manuscripts that testify to the crucifixion. The Quran doesn't tell us anything much about the crucifixion. So at the end of the day, I have no reason to believe in the crucifixion, nor do I have reason to believe in this book. I'm not saying that to be negative or insulting, right? Because you know what? It is possible that God did reveal this book, but it's a judgment against us. God is testing us by not preserving it, right? It could be a test. But then the question falls on me. How can I engage with God and not have trust in His scripture? That's why the Quran says, and I'm going to quote a verse for you, it says, Inna nahnu nazalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafizun. Verily God has sent down the Quran, and it is Him who will preserve it. So, from my perspective, if God sent a message to me, and He wants me to believe in it, then I suspect He would want me to know about it, that I can trust it. So as a Muslim, and I don't know if you know this, but we have many manuscripts of the Quran from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So what I do and I study is I go around and I look at the manuscripts of the Bible and the Quran. Because the question is this, how can I say your book is wrong because the manuscripts have changes? But when I look at my manuscripts, I see changes as well. So how can I trust the Quran? Isn't that a fair question as well? Because there are manuscripts of the Quran with changes. Would you agree to that? Yeah?
I would agree, yeah.
Right, so I agree as well, but there's a category of mistakes that people make. It's called lapsus calami, or a slip of the pen. So when a scribe is writing, for example, right, and he sees one line ends with a specific word, and a second line ends by this same word, he might skip over thinking he's already copied the first line. That happens, right? And you see that in New Testament manuscripts and in the Quran as well. But I want to give you an example here. When I go to the Quran, okay, I don't know if you've read the Quran, and I don't trust that you have, but here I go to Surah Al-Baqarah, okay? And what is the Arabic there? You see the Arabic there, right? Yep. It says Alif, Lam, Mim, correct? I didn't recite it, I just read out the letters, okay? Now, these words have no meaning. Would you agree to that? It just gives you the letters. It tells you what the letters are.
Yeah.
That's the letter Aleph, that's letter L is like a lam, and the Mim is one at the end.
Arabic
Okay,
anyway.
right. So, this is what I'm going to propose to you, okay? If I am a scribe writing down the Quran, okay, and I come across 3 letters that have no meaning, what do I do?
I think, you know Arabic, right?
Yeah, no, but I'm just a scribe, I'm illiterate. All I'm doing is copying the shapes. And I read it. What happens next? If it makes no sense, what do I do? Either I give it a meaning, or I change it, right?
You change it.
You change it. But here's the problem, right? All Muslims read this as Alif, Lam, Mim. They don't create it into a word. They don't try to like change the letters and make it say something it isn't. They've left it as the letters. Now here's the problem, right? When I showed you, yeah, just come here, yeah. When I showed you Matthew 27:46 earlier, I showed you that they took the version from the 5th century and not the 4th because they found that the words didn't match, right? So this is the difference for me between the Quran and the New Testament. When the Quran faces these letters that have no meaning, the Muslim's first choice was not to change it, or to correct it, or to give it meaning. So if you go to the Quran, these letters here, it doesn't occur once. It occurs multiple times. The technical word for it is huruf al-muqatta'at. It just means the letters. Right, so here's the thing. Why do I read it as Alif Lam Mim? Why don't I read it in some other way? Why don't I change it?
Oh, so you believe that this is, I mean, you think that this is the actual word of...
Yes, of God. God sent down to us. Right.
But, I mean, but someone might have written it because, you know, God can't physically write.
Yeah, no, but hold on. Just a correction there. In Exodus, it does say that God wrote the 10 Commandments with his fingertips. Did you know that? Yeah, shall I show you?
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to Google it here really quickly, right? Right, so God, is this information new to you?
Oh, he's, sorry.
Yeah, don't worry, but he's not part of us, don't worry about it. Fingertips. So I've just Googled it for you. God, fingertips, Exodus commandments, right? So it says, the finger of God is a phrase used in the Bible. In Exodus 8, verses 16 to 20, let me just jump to it really quickly.
Do you mean that the God is showing one finger? Like
No.
everyone
Let me just read the verse quickly. I'll show you what I mean by it, okay? Right. The internet here is bad, man.
I know.
Yeah. London, what are you doing with your internet? Come on. And I come from the island of Trinidad, so I'm a Trinitarian Muslim. Because Trinidad in Spanish means the Trinity. So my nationality is Trinitarian. Right, so what does it say here? Can you read that for me?
Okay, when the Lord finished speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave him the two tablets of the covenant law. The tablets of stone inscribed by the finger of God.
Have you read that before? No, so this is a website called BibleHub.com. It gives you,
in the Old Testament.
Yeah, Old Testament. Now it gives you all the translations. So you can scroll it and take it if you want and see if all say the same thing. Because maybe I changed it, maybe I made a mistake. But you see that there, right? Now I don't believe that God wrote the Quran with his hand. As Muslims we don't believe that, okay? But the point I'm trying to get to is, I find reason to believe in the Quran, but I also find reason to reject the New Testament. So it's not like I'm picking one over the other. I've looked at the two of them objectively, and I've chosen to disbelieve in one. Do you think I'm being unfair towards the New Testament?
I don't think you're being unfair,
But
I think that both the Old Testament and the New Testament have been shown, have been shown as guidance for Islam to write to it.
we would disagree with that, right?
I know you will disagree, but I mean, I don't know if this is might be off topic.
No,
but I mean,
introduce
in the
it.
Quran,
Yes.
I don't know if it's true, but your principle is that you should not believe in any other book rather than the Quran.
Yeah.
The Holy, is that true?
But yeah, we have to believe only in what God revealed. We can't believe. So I'll give you an example.
So you don't. I mean, Muhammad didn't say like you should believe in other books.
Okay, so in the Quran, I'll give you the Islamic perspective, okay? We believe that God sent revelation to different peoples at different times. So we believe it's mentioned in the Quran that David, the Prophet Dawood, was given the Zabur or the Psalms. We believe that the Prophet Moses was given the Torah. We call it Torah, right? And we believe that Jesus, peace be upon him, was given the Injil. So these are the books. Well, we don't call it the gospel, right?
The Injil.
Yeah, the Injil. Now, we believe that God revealed those books at one time, but we don't equate them with your books. Let me make that clear. So the Injil is not the New Testament. The Torah of Moses, we say, is revealed by God, but not the one from today. And we say the Psalms was revealed by God, but not the ones today. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you a simple reason why. Moses lived 1500 years before Jesus. Agreed? When is the earliest Old Testament you know in existence?
The earliest New Testament.
Old Testament, yeah.
Well, I mean the earliest New Testament.
Old Testament.
I mean it was revealed. The actual written.
Yeah.
I mean, it was made after the destruction
of the temple. Okay, no. So I'll throw this out at you, right? So the Old Testament that the Jews use come from the year 1000.
Year 1000.
It's called the Masoretic text.
Okay.
So it dates 300 years after Islam, just to be sure here, right? the Christians use something called the Greek Septuagint. You must know that, right? The Greek Septuagint, right? Now that dates from the 4th century to the 9th, depending on the version that you choose, right? And we discovered in the last century the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Now the Jews don't use the Dead Sea Scrolls because they consider it unreliable. And they don't use the Greek Septuagint. You should know that as well. They reject it. In fact, they have a day of prayer just to protest the translation from the Hebrew into the Greek. Did you know that? So they reject it entirely. So would you say I'm being unfair when the Jews do the same thing I do?
No, I mean, it has nothing to do with the Islam when the Jews reject it, because Islam wasn't even created.
We don't believe that.
I know.
So I'll give you an example.
I mean, if I can be honest with you, right?
Yes.
Islam was created with its similar guidelines because of the Judaism. You see, when your prophet, Muhammad, it says somewhere in the Quran that he was invited by a group of Jews. In those times it was a tent, I think.
Okay. And they brought the Torah to him. He says, I believe in thee and he who revealed thee.
Believe on oath. He took an oath on the Torah.
Okay. So I'll give you the answer to that. That's not in the Quran.
No?
It's from the Hadith.
Yeah, but still,
no, I'll get to it, right? So for that, I'll explain to you, right? In that narration, where it says, I believe in thee and he who revealed thee, that's fictitious, that's made up. That portion is made up. And we know that because it only comes from one person, one. And this person was known to be a dishonest person. Yeah. So we have the same narration from other people, but they don't have that point in it. Now I'll give you a simple, just using simple logic. If Muslims were to use and believe in the Bible, then I should believe that Christ died for my sins. Yep. But the Quran explicitly commands us, do not believe that, right? So how can the Prophet Muhammad say to the Jews or Christians, I believe in your book, but at the same time teach, hey, your religion is false? That does not make sense. Everyone would have pointed that out. What would the Jew have said? They would have said, why are you telling me to believe in this when you rejected? Did they say that? No, they didn't. So it means that the interpretation people have had who say these things is incorrect. Do you see where I'm getting at, right? So, Alex, we were speaking earlier, right? And I told you that I did not see any evidence for the crucifixion that convinces me, right? Do you think I'm making up evidences to get away from the crucifixion?
Well, I think that it has been like a tradition for, I don't know, like many years for you guys. And I mean, if you think that this is coming from the God himself, I mean, do you think that sorry. You can buy the book. Okay. Oh, sorry. I mean, do you believe that your God, Allah himself, said that Jesus wasn't crucified?
Yes, I believe that, 100%.
Because, I mean, I think the verse says there that when the Jews crucified to the Romans, when they crucified him, it says they made him to look like he was crucified.
Who is they?
I mean, the Jews think that they pretended. I mean, how to say in English?
No, I know what you're getting. I'll explain it to you, right?
I mean, your Quran says that God made it look like that the Jews were seeing that.
Yes, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that, because I have been looking at that verse. It's Quran Surah 4, verse 157. Okay. No, I want you to read it for me, right? With me,
no problem.
right? Right. So I'm going to read it out loud. Tell me where I've made a mistake, right?
All right.
Right. So I would say here, and for their saying, indeed we have killed the Messiah, Jesus the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah, and they did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but another was made to resemble them. And indeed, those who differ over it are in doubt about it. They have no knowledge of it except the following of assumption, and they did not kill him for certain, right? Now, the verse doesn't actually say, but another was made to resemble him. That's interpretation. So I'm going to go to a different translation because the text is incorrect. Translations, and we'll go to this one and this one. Right. So Right, so this one is more accurate here, the last one. It's literal. It's a literal reading, okay? So it says, and for boasting we killed the Messiah, Jesus the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah. But they neither killed him, nor did they crucify him. It was only made to appear so.
Yeah.
Right, so stop. Right, so it does not say in that verse that Allah made it appear so. The reason why I showed you Matthew 27:46 and then we go into verse 50 was to explain to you, because I was trying to get to that point but we were interrupted, was that this Quran says it was only made to appear so. It does not say who made it appear so. So our understanding as Muslims, we believe that the New Testament authors made it appear so. Christian translators made it appear so. So just for the cameras to understand, when we discussed earlier, right, you saw that they changed the words of Jesus on the cross, agreed?
Yeah.
They did, okay. And you saw that it never said that Jesus breathed his last breath, correct? It does not have the word last there, correct?
Well, according to the book, no.
Right, so this is the Nestle Island Greek New Testament, right? You don't have to trust this book, but, but you read it here, you look at it in the Greek, you're Greek, right?
Yes.
You read it. Did you see the word last there?
I did not say it.
Right,
No.
but in the translation, another translation also said he died. Does it say he died in the Greek? From the verses we read? It does not. Right, so at the end of the day, the evidence remains unconvincing to me, and that's why I believe in the Quran, because the Quran says it was made so to appear so. That makes sense to me, because people did make it appear so, and I saw the evidence about it in this book. So, Alex, at the end of the day, I want to thank you for the conversation, and I'm hoping that we can follow up on this another time. Do you have any last questions for me before we leave?
Well, I don't have any last question. I just want to say to the audience, to fellow YouTubers,
Yes.
I want to address to Ali Dakwah, Muhammad Hijab,
Yes.
other Christian friends, and the apologies, the one who debate
David Wood, yeah.
that we are all humans and we have only one life to live.
Indeed.
So let's make a use of our life not to make arguments, since God created us equal. And I just want to say God bless you, everyone.
Okay, Alex, thank you for the conversation, and I hope we can have a friendship after this, okay?
No problem.
Thank you, Alex. Guys. Okay, so they'll edit the rest of this, guys. So let's beat them up now, yeah? Now, right, I'm joking, I'm joking. Alright, guys, can we get hats on now? Hats on? Yeah, let's get hats on. Right, so they'll take it off. Can you guys take off his mic? Yeah, they'll take it off for you. Yeah. No, we're going to do hats on now.
Yeah.